Hi, my name is Andy, and today I'd like to tell you about my experience at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. So I went to Mayo Clinic to get treatment for hyperhidrosis, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's excess sweating in the hands and in the feet. So with hyperhidrosis, you could be sitting, basically doing nothing, and your hands would be wet with the sweat. So I've dealt with that my whole life. The earliest I can remember it being a problem was in elementary school, when I'd be sitting in, the classroom or whatever and drawing or writing or doing whatever I was doing. And the paper that I was writing on would start to curl up just because my hands were so wet with the sweat. And it was a problem, through middle school. I started playing the bass, the upright bass in the orchestra when I was in middle school. And, my hands were sweaty and it was so nasty. And then, of course, in high school, I switched over to the electric bass. I joined the jazz band at my high school, and my hands were sweaty every day. I mean, it was obnoxious. So this progressed, through high school, through college, even after college. I still had this problem pretty bad. So a little while after I graduated from college, I went to a dermatologist and talked to him about treatment options for the hyperhidrosis, and he gave me a medication called Robenol Forte. So I tried Robenol Forte for probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years or so, maybe even longer, and probably like the first 4 or 5 years it was pretty good. It worked fairly effectively. I had to take a tablet every day, but I think over time it started to really interfere with my stomach. I noticed that I got stomach aches fairly easily, and I had the consequences of this medication just interfering with my stomach. And I just thought, well, it's helping my hands, but the thing is with Robenol, I think over time it started to become less and less effective. And so I tried also briefly a topical solution for my hands called Drysol, which is like an antiperspirant that doesn't have any scent to it. It's just a clear liquid. And you put that on your hands at night, and when you wake up the next morning, your hands are supposed to be magically dry. And I guess it was okay. It wasn't really very good, actually. I felt that it left my hands just kind of feeling just kind of weird. I just didn't like it. So with Robenol being out and Drysol being out, there was really no other option. I just thought, what do I do now? And so I got online and I Googled for hyperhidrosis, and I thought, there has to be something that comes up. So fortunately, the first search result in the list was for Mayo Clinic, and on their website they had a really nice write-up about hyperhidrosis and what causes the problem and treatment options and so on, and it was pretty good. And so I also found at the time a couple of videos that were put out by Mayo Clinic. One of them in particular was from Dr. Atkinson at Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota, and he talked about hyperhidrosis and how I guess his department has been treating hyperhidrosis for such a long time, and what they do to fix the problem and so on. I also found another video from a neurosurgeon at Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, and she talked about the options that they use. Specifically the surgical option to fix the problem surgically. And so I thought, wow, that's pretty good. And so got on the website and I scheduled an appointment for Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. I thought, where better a place to go than to Jacksonville to get my sweaty hand problem fixed. And so scheduled the appointment, and the appointment was for January 2012, which is a couple months ago at this point. And so I went there over a 2-day period, a Thursday and a Friday. So on both of those days were just for a consultation, just to see if I would be a good candidate for the surgery. So the first day I met with Dr. Warren, and he kind of walked me through like the reasons that people have hyperhidrosis, what causes it, and specifically the surgical option to fix the problem, which is a surgery called endoscopic thoracic sympathotomy. And so he kind of described the surgery, and during the description, he just kind of told me what they do, and the way that they fix the problem and that sort of thing. And one of the things that he said that I'll never forget was something to the effect of, "I can guarantee warm, dry hands." And that was just music to my ears. I thought, this has been a problem for so long, and to have warm, dry hands, that's just fantastic. So the next day I went, which was a Friday, I met with another surgeon, Dr. Rodell, and he, asked me, what I do for a living, and I just said, well, I'm an engineer, a software engineer. I type a lot with my hands, of course, and I play the bass with my hands, and, this hyperhidrosis issue is really a problem for those sorts of things. So we talked for a little while, and he also described the surgery and what's involved and things of that sort. And he also gave me a paper that I think Dr. Atkinson and a couple other doctors had written about the surgical treatment option for hyperhidrosis. So I took that home with me and just kind of read through it and thought about it for a while. And so I thought, let's schedule the surgery. I was kind of nervous. I mean, who likes to have surgery? But I just thought, well, let's at least get on the schedule. And if I chicken out, then I chicken out. But fortunately, I didn't. And so the surgery was for March 15th. And so I went down a couple days early. And the day prior to my surgery, I had the preoperative visit, which was just a series of things that that have to be done in order to make sure that there aren't problems the day of the surgery. So I got to Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville for my pre-op, and we did a couple things. I can't remember the exact order, but I had like a chest x-ray, I had a blood test, and I had a couple other tests done just to make sure that everything was good for the surgery. And so one fantastic thing about Mayo is that I found that they're extremely organized. And so I was supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was there at 8, and we got everything done. And I think my itinerary for the day was I was supposed to have my last visit, or my last appointment for that day was at 1:30, which was with Dr. Warren, just to talk about the surgery before the surgery happened. So I remember everything going so smoothly that I think I met with Dr. Warren at probably 11 or 11:15, something like that. And so I was done at the hospital, by 11:30 or maybe noon. And so what better thing to do than to go play golf? And so I was out on the golf course. I think probably at the time I was originally scheduled to be meeting with Dr. Warren, or at least pretty close to that time frame. So they are really efficient, and they're really good at what they do. So the day of the surgery was, of course, the following day. And so they asked me to be at the hospital at 5:30 a.m. And so we made it there and got all checked in and everything. And so we did like all the usual, surgery, preparation stuff. Like, went to the back. I had to put on the fancy robe, which opens in the back, which everybody seems to like. I'm just kidding. And so, we got the IV all hooked up, and of course I was kind of nervous. But the surgical staff was just great. I mean, I can't remember everyone who was there, but I do remember one of the staffers named Lena. She got me all hooked up with my IV, and then Edwin, I think was his name, he put my stockings on, and then there was another nurse who sang to me, actually, which I thought was really cool. And she said that she was she didn't sing very well, she thought, but I thought she did a great job. And so, of course, my hands were just soaking because I was pretty nervous. And I remember I looked at my hands, and there was just, sweat just kind of running down my hand. And one of the nurses at the back, she said, she's like, well, we're going to get that fixed. It's not going to be a problem anymore. And so I thought, man, this is really, it's happening. I'm finally here. And so one of the anesthesiologists came along, and she gave me a little bit of medication, which she called the happy to be here medication. So I thought that was pretty good. And so thought that was kind of funny. And so uh, I guess right before the surgery, Dr. Warren stopped by and he had a little checklist and he kind of went through and said hi to me and everything. And he said again, warm, dry hands, and he smiled. And I thought that was really kind of like his theme, which I really appreciated. And so I think, I had like another little bit of anesthesia or whatever, I can't remember exactly. But anyway, they wheeled me back into the surgery room, and they just moved me over to the surgery table, I guess. And I can't remember exactly all the details, but I do remember Dr. Odell was there, and he said hi to me, and I remember a bunch of other staffers in there. And that's really about the last thing I remember. I remember it was pretty cold, and so I was laying there, and they had me all covered up in a nice warm blanket. And after that, I don't know, I went to sleep. And so they did the surgery. They fixed both sides, and so after the surgery, I went to the the recovery area, and at the time, of course, I woke up, and I remember somebody like kind of talking into my ear saying, "Take big deep breaths," and I found that it felt as though my chest was, or my lungs, I guess, were a bit smaller than what I was used to. And so I just, took big deep breaths and, tried to just hold my breath and just kind of get things back to normal. And so they kept me in the back for a little while and kept an eye on me and just kind of helped me, recover and that sort of thing. And so I think by this point, I think my surgery was at about 7:30 a.m. and I think at this point it was probably about 11:30 or maybe noon or so that I remember. And so I just remember being just so tired, and I think it was probably a consequence of walking 18 holes at the golf course the day before and having to get up so early, that morning for my surgery. So I just remember I just wanted to sleep, I just wanted to be left alone. And so went to another area with, my wife and my mom joined me at that point and changed my clothes, and I think it was probably about 2:30 or so at that point. And so I think I left the hospital maybe about 2:30 or maybe 3 o'clock that afternoon. And if I remember right, we were already back at the hotel, I think at 3:30, something like that. So yeah, I laid down and slept for a while, and I think I probably woke up maybe about 6:30 or 7 or so in the evening, and didn't really ever have like very serious pain. I mean, I had pain medication to help, to kind of quell the pain a bit, but I don't remember it just ever really hurting really bad. It was uncomfortable, but it was never like really sharp pain. So we went outside and went for a little walk, kind of out, not on the beach, but kind of close to the beach in that area, in Jacksonville Beach, really nice. So I walked around for a little bit and just kind of took it easy, had soup, to eat for dinner that night. And I think probably not long after that I went to bed and just slept for a long time. It was really nice. So the next day, again, just took some pain medication just to help, keep the pain from really being a problem. And just kind of took it easy. One of the things that they told me not to do was do anything really strenuous. So of course that meant I couldn't play golf for a little while, and couldn't lift anything like really heavy. Just basically just had to recover, because you have a tube stuck, in your side, on both sides. You just want to make sure things are healed up, pretty well. So I followed their advice and I healed up just fine. And as I mentioned, I think the pain was entirely gone for, probably after a couple days. And again, it wasn't like really sharp pain. It was just more of like, just a little bit of discomfort. And so had a really good recovery time. One of the things also was that they told me not to fly for a week, just because my lungs could be impacted with the pressurization in an airplane. And so got to stay in Jacksonville for another week after my surgery, which of course that was a real sacrifice, but somebody had to do it, so I did. So I just went out and enjoyed the beach and the sunshine, and just had a really nice time just recovering and just kind of taking it easy for a little while. So there was only one time that my hands have sweated since the surgery, and that was I think about 2 or 3 days after the surgery. It was in the middle of the night, and I woke up and my hands were just a little bit sweaty, and so at my follow-up appointment, which was a week after my surgery, I asked Dr. Warren about that, and he told me that that was normal, that the hands are, he'll have to answer this question, I can't remember exactly, but he just said the hands are, so used to sweating, and something with like the nerves are, I'm just totally making up this answer, but he said basically it's just normal. There's like one time where it's like one last hurrah, I guess it would be, and then after that there would be no more sweat. And he was right. That was the last time, and that was about, I guess, almost 3 weeks ago. Since then, my hands have they've been nice and warm and dry. You can hear that, just nice dry hands, and they're warm, and it's probably at this point I'm gonna have to start using some lotion because they're dry. And that's what I wanted, and so everything was a success. And so I'm thankful because it's been an answer to my prayers. I've prayed for this for a long time, that I'd have nice, warm, dry hands, and I'm fortunate, I'm blessed that I was able to go to, perhaps maybe the best hospital, one of the best hospitals, anywhere, and get treatment from the people who helped me there. It was really fantastic. So if you have hyperhidrosis, if it's something that you've dealt with for any period of time and nothing else has worked, I encourage you to, give them a call and see, if you can get an appointment and see if you would be a good candidate for the surgery. So I really think you would find it beneficial. So hopefully my story has helped you, and if you have any questions, about my surgery or the recovery or anything, please send me an email, and I'll be glad to help you or answer any questions that you might have. And to all my friends at Mayo Clinic, a huge thank you. It was something they'll never forget. I mean, as I said earlier, nobody really likes to have surgery, but I found that the staff there was just fantastic, and they're just, great people, and I'm really thankful, for all of your help, and for making this a problem that is in my past. So thanks very much.